What's up, guys? What is up? What is up? Back. More success principles. Still on the fence about the mic. How about that? Test. Test. I think I just gotta speak up. Little bit difficult. Okay, there we go. Be able to hear me now. Thanks to Victus, I think you can see me now as well on YouTube. Here we go again. Test principles. Jack Canfield. And then, yes, I'm still thinking about the microphone arm, guys. I do trying to think of the right word to say. I do realize that the microphone arm would make it easier for the microphone to pick up the actual sound of my voice. Because this is true too, that I don't have a very loud. Um, I I would say I'm not the most quiet guy, but I am naturally quiet. So if I had the microphone arm and I had the microphone pulled closer to my actual mouth, it would be easier, I think, for you to understand actually what I'm saying. But yeah, it's $20 on, so I'm still. I may not need it after all because, as I've been saying, the microphone that I bought, the Blue, did itself come with a stand. Here you guys on TikTok can see too. So yeah, like, as long as it's close to me, as long as it's up the sound of my voice, fine, and I'm happy. Okay, all right. We find ourselves in chapter 8, or I should say the 8th episode of this series. That's principle. We are finding ourselves on principle 7. Principle 7 is unleash the power of goal setting. If you want to be happy, set a goal that commands your thoughts, liberates your energy, inspires your hopes. Andrew Carnegie, richest man in America in the 100s. Once you know your life purpose, determine your vision, clarify what your true needs and desires are, you have to convert them into specific, measurable goals and objectives, and act on them with the certainty that you will achieve them. Experts on the science of success know the brain is a goal seeking organism. Whatever goal you give to your subconscious mind will work night and day to achieve. The awesome power of goal setting. For as long as I can remember, trainers have cited a study on goal setting done at Yale in which 3% of the graduating class had written specific goals for their future. 20 years later, those 3% were found to be earning an astounding 10 times more than the group that had no clear goals. The trouble is, this study turns out to be merely an urban myth, as extensive reviews of available research literature by Dr. Gail Matthews and Dr. Stephen Krauss revealed that no such study had ever been done. However, as a result of this finding, Dr. Matthews decided to conduct a study of her own that focused on how goal achievement is influenced by writing down one's goals, committing to goal directed actions, and being held accountable for those actions. I'll footnote here. Dr. Gail Matthews is a psychology professor at Dominican University. Dr. Stephen Krauss is a social psychologist from Harvard University. Total of 267 participants, ranging in age from 72, recruited from the United States, Europe, Australia, Asia, and included a variety of entrepreneurs, educators, healthcare professionals, artists, attorneys, bankers, marketers, human service providers, managers, vice presidents, and directors of nonprofits. The participants were randomly assigned to one of 5 groups. Group 1 was simply asked to think deeply about their goals, what they wanted to accomplish over the next 4 weeks. not to write them down. Groups 2, 3, 4, and 5 were asked to write down their goals. Group 3 was asked to also formulate a list of action commitments. 4 was asked to formulate a list of action commitments and then send their list of goals and action commitments to a friend. Group 5 was asked to do all the above and provide a weekly progress report to a friend. At the end of 4 weeks, the participants were asked to rate their progress and the degree to which they had accomplished their goals. Participants in Group 1 accomplished only 43%, while participants in Group 5 achieved 76% of their goals. That's a 33% increase over Group 1. The results are summarized in the chart below. Group 1, 2, 3, Group 4, and Group 5. Think about goals, write down goals, share with a friend, weekly progress report to a friend. Success rate for Group 1, 43%, 4, 64%, 5, 76%. Let's show both chart. There you go. Study provides empirical evidence for the importance and effectiveness of 3 essential success principles. For 1, writing down your goals. For 2, making a public declaration of your goals. 3, being accountable to another person, such as a coach, accountability partner, or a mastermind group for the achievement. Also consider this. According to a study conducted by David Cole, professor emeritus at Virginia Tech, 80% of Americans report that they don't have goals. 16% say they do have goals, but they don't write them down. Less than 4% take the time to write down their goals. Less than 1% review them regularly. A small percentage of Americans write down their goals and review them regularly earn 9 times more over the course of their lifetimes than those who don't set goals. This study alone should motivate you to write down your goals. How much by when? To make sure a goal unleashes the power of your subconscious mind, it must meet 2 criteria. How much, a measurable quantity such as pages, pounds, dollars, square feet, or points. And by when? Specific time and date. It must be stated in a way that you and anybody else could measure it. I will lose 10 pounds is not as powerful as I will weigh 135 pounds by 5 p.m. on June 30th. Second is clearer because anybody can show up at 5 o'clock on June 30th and look at the reading on your scale. It will either be 135 pounds or less, or not. Be as specific as possible with all aspects of your goals. Include the make, model, color, year, and features, the size, weight, form, and any other details. Remember, vague goals produce vague results. A goal versus a good idea. When there are no criteria for measurement, it is simply something you want, a wish, a preference, a good idea. To engage your subconscious mind, a goal or objective has to be measurable. Here are a few examples to give you more clarity. Good idea. Objective. Good idea would be, I would like to own a nice home on the ocean. Objective might. I will own a 4,000 square foot house on the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu, California by noon, April 30th, 2017. Idea, I will wait. A goal or objective for that idea, I will weigh 185 pounds by 5 p.m. January 1st, 2017. I need to treat my employees better. That's a good idea. And the objective for it is I will acknowledge a minimum of 6 employees for their contribution to the department by 5 p.m. Friday. Write it out in detail. One of the best ways to get clarity and specificity on your goals is to write them out in detail. You're writing specifications for a work order. Think of it as a request to God, source, universal mind, or the quantum field. Every possible detail. If there's a certain house you want to own, write down its specifics in vivid color detail. The location, landscaping, furniture, artwork, sound system, and floor plan. If a picture of the house is available, get a copy of it. If it's an ideal fantasy that doesn't yet exist in physical form, take the time to close your eyes and fill in all the details. Provide a date by which you expect to own it. If you write it all down, the subconscious mind will know what to work on. It will know which opportunities to home in on to help you reach your goal. When you create your goals, be sure to write down some big ones that will stretch you and require you to grow to achieve them. It is a good thing to have some goals that make you a little uncomfortable. Why? Because the ultimate goal, in addition to achieving your material goals, is to become a master at life. To do this, you will need to learn new skills, expand your vision of what's possible, build new relationships, learn to overcome your fears, considerations, and roadblocks. Create a breakthrough goal. In addition to turning every aspect of your vision into a measurable goal, all the quarterly and weekly and daily goals that you routinely set, I also encourage you to set what I call a breakthrough goal. It will represent a quantum leap for you, and most goals represent incremental improvements in your life. They're like plays that gain you 4 yards in the game of football. What if you could come out of the first play of the game and throw a 50-yard pass? That would be a quantum leap in your progress down the field. Just as there are plays in football that move you far up the field in one move, there are plays in life that will do the same thing. They include accomplishments such as losing 60 pounds, writing a book, appearing on Oprah, winning a gold medal at the Olympics, creating a killer website, getting your master's or doctoral degree, getting elected president of your union or professional association, hosting your own radio show. The achievement of that one goal could change everything. Burbank. Look, lady, you're the one who asked for a famous movie star with dark hair, strong nose, and deep-set eyes. Funny. He's like, well, I didn't mean Mickey Mouse. But you gotta be more specific next time, lady. Wouldn't that be a goal worth pursuing with passion? Wouldn't that be something to focus on a little each day until you achieved it? If you were an independent sales professional, for example, and you could get a better territory, a substantial bonus commission, and maybe even a promotion once you landed a certain number of customers, wouldn't you work day and night to achieve that goal? And if you were a stay-at-home mom whose entire lifestyle and finances would change if you earned an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month through participating in a network marketing company, wouldn't you pursue every possible opportunity until you achieve that goal? That's what I mean by a breakthrough goal. Something that changes your life, brings you new opportunities, gets you in front of the right people, and takes every activity, relationship, or group you're involved in to a higher level. What would a breakthrough goal be for you? Writing a best-selling book was a breakthrough goal for me and Mark Victor Hansen. Chicken Soup for the Soul took us from being known in a couple of narrow fields to being recognized internationally. Created greater demand for our audio programs, speeches, and seminars. The additional income it produced allowed us to improve our lifestyle, secure our retirement, hire more staff, take on more projects, and have a larger impact on the world. Reread your goals 3 times a day. Once you've written down all your goals, both large and small, the next step on your journey to success is to activate your the creative powers of your subconscious mind by reviewing your list 2 or 3 times every day. Take time to read your list of goals. List out loud with passion and enthusiasm if you are in an appropriate place. One goal at a time. Close your eyes and picture each goal as if it were already accomplished. Take a few more seconds to feel what you would feel if you had already accomplished the goal. Following this daily discipline of success will activate the power of your desire. It increases what psychologists refer to as a structural tension in your brain. Your brain wants to close the gap between your current reality and the vision of your goal. By constantly repeating and visualizing your goals already achieved, you'll be increasing the structural tension. This will increase your motivation, stimulate your creativity, heighten your awareness of resources that can help you achieve your goal. Sure to review your Make sure to review your goals at least 2 times per day. Once in the morning upon awakening, and then at night again before bed. I write each of mine on a 3x5 index card. Keep the pack of cards next to my bed, and then I go through the cards one at a time in the morning and again at night. When I travel, I take them with me. Put a list of your goals in your daily planner or calendar system. You can also create a pop-up or screensaver on your computer, tablet, or smartphone that lists your goals. The objective is to constantly keep your goals in front of you. Olympic decathlon gold medalist Bruce Jenner asked a roomful of Olympic hopefuls if they had a list of written goals. Everyone raised their hands. When he asked how many of them had that list with them right at that moment, only one person raised their hand. That person was Dan O'Brien. It was Dan O'Brien who went on to win the gold medal in decathlon at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. Don't underestimate the power of setting goals and reviewing them. Create a goals book. Another powerful way to speed up the achievement of your goals is to create a goals book. Buy a 3-ring binder, a scrapbook, or a journal. Then create a separate page for each of your goals. Write the goal at the top of the page and then illustrate it with pictures, words, and phrases that you cut out of magazines, catalogs, and travel brochures that depict your goal as already achieved. Goals and desires emerge. Simply add them to your list of goals in your goals book. Review the pages of your goals book at least once. Carry your most important goal in your wallet. When I first started working for W. Clement Stone, he taught me to write my most important goal on the back of my business card and carry it in my wallet at all times. Every time I would open my wallet, I would be reminded of my most important goal. When I met Mark Victor Hansen, I discovered that he too used the same technique. After finishing the first Chicken Soup for the Soul book we wrote, I am so happy selling 1.5 million copies of Chicken Soup for the Soul by December 30th, 1994. We then signed each other's cards and carried them in our wallets. I still have mine in a frame behind my desk. Though our publisher laughed and told us we were crazy, we went on to sell 1.3 million copies of the book by our target date. Some might say, well, you missed your goal by 200,000 copies. Perhaps, but not by much. That book went on to sell well over 10 million copies in 47 languages around the world. Believe me, I can live with that kind of failure. Write yourself a check. Around 1990, when Jim Carrey was a struggling young Canadian comic trying to make his way in Los Angeles, he drove his old Toyota up to Mulholland Drive. While sitting there looking at the city below and dreaming of his future, he wrote himself a check for $10 million. Dated it Thanksgiving 1995, added the notation for acting services rendered, and carried it in his wallet from that day forth. The rest, as they say, is history. Carrey's optimism and tenacity eventually paid off, and by 1995, after the huge box office success of Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber, his asking price had risen to $20 million per picture. Carrey's father died in 1994. He placed the $10 million check into his father's coffin as a tribute to the man who had both started and nurtured his dreams of being a star. One goal is not enough. If you're bored with life, if you don't get up every morning with a burning desire to do things, you don't have enough goals. Lou Holtz, the only coach in NCAA history, ever lead 6 different college teams to postseason bowl games. Also won national championship and Coach of the Year honors. Currently an ESPN commentator. Lou Holtz, the legendary football coach of Notre Dame, is also a legendary goal setter. His belief in goal setting comes from a lesson he learned at 6 when he was only 28 years old and had just been hired as an assistant coach at the University of South Carolina. His wife, Beth, was 8 months pregnant with their 3rd child, and Lou had spent every dollar he had on a down payment on a house. 1 month later, the head coach who had hired Lou resigned, found himself without a job. In an attempt to lift his spirits, his wife gave him a book, The Magic of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. The book said that you should write down all your goals you want to achieve in your life. Lou sat at the dining room table, turned his imagination loose, and before he knew it, he had listed 107 goals he wanted to achieve before he died. These goals covered every area of his life and included having dinner at the White House, appearing on The Tonight Show, meeting the Pope, coaching at Notre Dame, leading his team to a national championship, and shooting a hole-in-one in golf. So far, Lou has achieved 102 of those goals, including shooting hole in one. Not once, but twice. Take the time to make a list of 101 goals you want to achieve in your life. Write them in vivid detail, noting where, when, how much, which model, what size, and so on. Put them on 3 by 5-inch cards, on a goals page, or in a goals book. Every time you achieve one of your goals, check it off and write victory next to it. I made a list of 109 major goals that I wanted to achieve before I died, and I've already achieved 68 of them in only 24 years, including traveling to Africa, flying in a glider, learning to ski, attending the Summer Olympic Games, writing a children's book, and appearing in a movie. You can read my 101 goals list at jack.com/. Considerations, fears, and roadblocks. It's important to understand that as soon as you set a goal, three things are going to emerge that stop most people, but not you. If you know that these three things are simply part of the process, then you can treat them as what they are, just things to handle, rather than letting them stop you. Three obstacles to success are considerations, fears, and roadblocks. Think about it. As soon as you say you want to double your income next year, within moments, considerations such as, I'll have to work twice as hard, or I won't have time for my family, or my wife's going to kill me, begin to emerge. You might have thoughts such as, my territory's maxed out. I can't see how I could possibly get the buyers on my current route to buy any more product from them. If you say you're going to run a marathon, you might hear a voice in your head say, you could get hurt. You'll have to get up 2 hours earlier every day. It might even suggest that you're too old to start running. These thoughts are called considerations. They are all the reasons why you shouldn't attempt a goal. All the reasons why it is impossible to achieve. But surfacing these considerations is a good thing. They've been there in your subconscious mind, stopping you all along. Now that you've brought them into your conscious awareness, you can deal with them, confront them, and move past them. Fears, on the other hand, are feelings. You may experience a fear of rejection, a fear of failure, or a fear of making a fool of yourself. You might be afraid of getting physically or emotionally hurt. You might be afraid that you will lose all the money you have already saved. Fears are not unusual. They're just part of the process. Knowing that in advance helps you move through them. Finally, you'll become aware of roadblocks. These are purely external circumstances, well beyond just thoughts and feelings in your head. Roadblock may be that nobody wants to join you on your project. Roadblock might be that you don't have all the money you need to move forward. Perhaps you do need other investors. Roadblocks might be that your state or national government has rules or laws that prohibit what you want to do. Maybe you need to petition the government to change the rules. Stu Lichtman, a business turnaround expert, took over a well-known shoe company in Maine, and that was in such bad shape financially, it was virtually doomed to go out of business. The business owed millions of dollars to creditors and was short the $2 million it needed to pay them. As part of the proposed turnaround, Stu negotiated the sale of an unused plant near the Canadian border that would bring the company $600,000. But the state of Maine had a lien on the plant, taking all the proceeds. So Stu went to the governor of Maine to inform him of the company's dilemma. You can either go bankrupt, said, in which case nearly 1,000 Maine residents will soon be out of work and on the employment roll, costing the government millions of dollars. Or the company and the government could together pursue Stu's plan of keeping the company alive, helping to keep the state's economy going, keeping nearly 1,000 people employed, and turning the company around in preparation for a takeover by another company. But the only way to achieve that goal was to overcome, you guessed it, the roadblock of the state's lien on the plant. Instead of letting that lien stop him, Stu decided to talk to the person who could remove the roadblock. In the end, the governor decided to cancel. First, you may not encounter roadblocks that require you to approach a governor. Then again, depending on how large your goal is, you might very well might. Roadblocks are simply obstacles that the world throws at you. It rains when you're trying to put on an outdoor concert, your wife doesn't want to move to Kentucky, You don't have the financial backing you need, and so on. Roadblocks are simply real world circumstances that you need to deal with in order to move forward. They are just things that you will need to handle. Fortunately, when these considerations, fears, and roadblocks come up, most people see them as a stop sign. Say, now that I'm thinking that, feeling this, and finding out about that, I think I won't pursue this goal after all. But I'm telling you not to see considerations, fears, and roadblocks as stop signs, but rather as a normal part of the process that will always appear. When you remodel your kitchen, resign yourself to a little dust and disturbance as part of the price you'll have to pay. You learn to deal with it. Same is true of considerations, fears, and roadblocks. Learn to deal with them. Supposed to appear. If they don't, it means you haven't set a goal that's big enough to stretch you and grow you. It means there's no real potential for self-development. Learn to welcome considerations, fears, and roadblocks when they appear, because many times they are the very things that have been holding you back in life. Once you see these subconscious thoughts, feelings, and obstacles, once you're aware of them, you can face them, process them, and deal with them. You become better prepared for the next venture you want to undertake. Mastery the goal. You want to set a goal that is big enough that in the process of achieving it, you becoming self-made millionaire, success coach, and philosopher. Of course, the ultimate benefit of overcoming these considerations, fears, and roadblocks is not the material rewards that you enjoy, but the personal development process. Money, cars, houses, boats, attractive spouses, power, and fame can all be taken, sometimes in the blink of an eye. What can never be taken away is who you become in the process of achieving your goal. To achieve a big goal, you're going to have to become a bigger person. You're going to have to develop new skills, new attitudes, and new capabilities. You're going to have to stretch yourself, and in doing so, you'll be stretched forever. October 20th, 1991, a devastating fire roared through the scenic hills of Oakland and Berkeley, California, igniting one building every 11 seconds for over 10 hours, completely destroying more than 3,700 homes and apartments. A friend of mine who's also an author lost everything he owned, including his entire library, files full of research, and a nearly complete manuscript of a book he was writing. Certainly devastated for a short period of time, he soon realized that although everything he owned was indeed lost in the fire, it had become inside. Everything he had learned and all the skills and self-confidence he developed writing and promoting his books was all still inside of him and could never be burned up in a fire. You can lose the material things, but you can never lose your mastery, what you learn and who you become in the process of achieving your goals. I believe that part of what we're on earth to do is to become masters of many skills. Christ was a spiritual master who turned water into wine, who healed people, who walked on water, and who calmed storms. He said that you and I too could do all these things and more. Definitely have that potential. Even today, in a town square in Germany, stands a statue of Christ, hands blown off during the intensive bombing of World War II. Though the townspeople could have restored the statue decades ago, they learned this more important lesson. Instead, placing a plaque underneath that reads, "Christ hath no hands but yours." God needs our hands to complete his tasks on earth. To become masters and do this great work, we all have to be willing to go through the considerations, fears, and roadblocks. The power of a goal. Things do not happen. Things are made to happen. That's John F. Kennedy, 35th President of the United States of America. When I was conducting a workshop in Chennai, India, I had the great fortune to meet CK and Veena Kumaravel. Their story illustrates the awesome power of committing to a goal. CK and Veena's children started attending school. Veena decided she wanted to do something to earn 60,000 rupees, $1,300 a month. Veena could have easily landed a job or stayed home as a homemaker, but she was resolute in her desire to be self-employed. Knew she wanted to be her own boss, but she hadn't yet identified what she wanted to do. One of the techniques I teach that can help you decide what to do with your life is to think about what irritates or frustrates you, then see whether you can create a livelihood there. If something is bothering you, chances are it's probably bothering others too. Simply suggested that Veena follow the age-old rule of business: find a need, fill it. They realized that she had long been irritated by the lack of good quality, affordable beauty salons where they lived. Attractive salons were found only in India's five-star hotels. The other end of the spectrum were the local beauty parlors and barbershops, standards of hygiene that were far below par. Ina and CK soon realized that there was a need for quality, value-focused salon that could serve both men and women. Having made the decision to start such a salon, the next challenge was to find a skilled staff and managers. Ina was not a beautician, hairdresser, or makeup artist, and CK knew even less about the industry. He solved the first challenge by hiring a manager of the Taj, five-star hotel in India, who then hired the rest of the staff. The next challenge, usually the most critical faced by all first-generation entrepreneurs, was to find startup money. They quickly approached what he calls the three friends and fools, able to collect enough to open their first naturals unisex salon and spa on Kadir Kawaz Khan Road in Chennai. Eventually, they achieved Vena's original monthly goal of 60,000 rupees, second salon, but they decided to think even bigger. By opening 4 more salons, Vena concluded they could turn naturals into a chain. For another, however, the bankers they met with said no, taking their cue from the success principles which taught them no next. They asked again and again until the 54th banker, impressed by this dedicated husband and wife team doing business together, said yes to their loan request of $130,000. The addition of the new salons, the Naturals brand was invisible and growing. This success inspired Vena and CK to franchise their businesses, so they advertised in 2 major newspapers, expecting 500 inquiries or more. When just 334 people responded, 32 filled out the preliminary paperwork, Vena and CK could identify no one who was actually serious about becoming a franchisee. At the time, beauty salons were considered taboo, and what's more, Naturals was not a big multinational brand. Their solution challenge? Find a prospective franchisee who would co-invest and partner with Vena and CK on each salon location, providing a level of confidence for franchisees who would operate the salon. Soon the Naturals chain nearly doubled to 13 locations from this winning formula of adding franchisees. By 2009, the chain had grown to 54 salons. By 2014, there were 376 Naturals across India. Vena and CK also negotiated an agreement to open salons inside 250 Easy Day neighborhood stores. They're on target to open 50 in the region. Millions of people from India. What gives CK and Vena the greatest satisfaction is that they've created 184 financially successful women entrepreneurs, 80% of whom started out as stay-at-home housewives. Even more importantly, they have created 6,400 jobs. During one of my trips to Chennai, the Kumbh Revels invited me to attend the opening of one of their new salon spas. What an experience! The salon was clean, brightly lit, and very welcoming, as were all the staff. The level of positive energy was unmistakable. The thing that deeply moved me was that several of the staff were visually challenged. Kumbh Revels had discovered that due to their heightened sense of touch, young men and women made the best foot reflexology and massage therapists. Now they employ a large number of these young people, otherwise be relegated to a life of poverty. More about Vena's story at www.bestprinciples.com. DK told me that this goal is to erase the word housewife from the dictionary and create 1,000 successful women entrepreneurs, 3,000 salons, and 50,000 jobs by December 31st, 2017. That was Principle 7. Then unleash the power of goal setting. Next time it will be Principle 8, chunk it down. Principle 7 of the Success Principle. Please remember to support the show, whether you're on TikTok or YouTube. Like, comment, share, subscribe, donations, event, summer show. Anything and everything you do to support the show is appreciated. This show, let's be real, help and support. Please push out the signal. Watching, sleep tight, have a good night. Summer show, signing out. Off. Until next time, I've been your host, signing off.